everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and today I want to show you how to make this cute little ghost. You can use any yarn that you like and use a hook that will give you a nice tight gauge with that yarn. You want the head to be tight and closed enough to hold the stuffing in place. That's the main reason for that. So I'm using a worsted weight yarn and a 4.5 millimeter hook, which is my go-to. I do tend to crochet a little bit loose, so you may want to use a slightly larger hook if you're using worsted weight yarn. I think in the pattern I recommended a 5 millimeter hook. So to start, you want to leave a 6 to 8 inch tail. This one I have is about 6, so let's leave a little bit more. There's my 8 inch tail approximately. You're going to use that later to sew the head closed, so that's why we're leaving a little bit longer of a tail. Now I'm going to start at the top with this loop for hanging. So that's just a chain loop. Let's chain 6. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch into the first chain. Okay, that gives us a loop to hang the ghost up with. Now I want to make the head, and I'm going to start that with a circle of 6 single crochets, and I'm going to work them into this chain here, the one that we just joined into. So let's chain 1 for the height of our single crochet and work 6 single crochet right into this chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so this is the top circle of our head. Now we're not going to join because we're going to work in continuous rounds, but I want to kind of position everything else. My tail I want to stick down through the bottom of the head, and my loop I want to stick up at the top of the head. If it's not right now, I could fix it later. You can pull things through the middle and it'll be fine, but it helps if it's right now. It just makes it easier. So I'm going to pull my loop forward so it's sticking out the top, and then I'm going to be working around this way. The other thing I want to do is I want to mark the first stitch of each round. So I've cut a piece of scrap yarn. I'm going to use that as a running stitch marker, which I have a separate tutorial on if you are unfamiliar with the term. So I'm placing my running stitch marker, and I'm going to go ahead and start the next round. So for the next round, I'm doing an increase in every stitch, and my increase is I first do a single crochet in the back loop, and then I do a single crochet through both loops. And this first one's a little tricky here because I pulled it too tightly. Come on, there we go. Single crochet through both loops. Really, I can get both loops. All right, here we go, both loops. Okay, so that's my first increase. Now my second increase, same thing, through the back loop and then through both loops, and then again through the back loop and then through both loops. So as I go and I continue to do this, I'm going to end up with 12 stitches on this row. Round, not row. I'm going to do that a lot. I often say round or row when I mean round. Single crochet in the back loop, single crochet through both loops. Okay, I've come to my first stitch, so I flip my marker over and continue on to the next round. Now for the next round, we're doing a increase and then a regular stitch and then an increase and then a regular stitch. So it is increase and then single crochet, increase and then single crochet. Last one, increase and single crochet. And I'm back to my marker, so flip it over and let's go on to the next round. Now I should have 18 stitches, so for the next 4 rounds I'm just single crocheting in every stitch around. So I'm going to do that and come back to you. I finished 4 rows of just single crochet, and now I'm ready to do the decreases. So this invisible decrease technique, I learned this from a friend, and she has a tutorial which I will link in the description of the video. But basically what it is you stick your hook into the front loop of the first stitch, and then you stick your hook into the front loop of the second stitch, and you work your stitch through that, both of those loops together. So that is the first decrease. And for this round, I'm going to be doing decrease, regular single crochet, and then decrease, and then a regular single crochet all the way around. So there's another decrease. Oops, sorry, not there. A regular single crochet. And I keep doing that all the way around. It should be 6 times because I should end up with 12 stitches. So this is the 3rd time. And 4th time. Okay, and then the last round of the head, I'm just going to decrease every single stitch. So that should leave me with 6 stitches. Okay, I've got 6 stitches. I am ready to start on the body. So I've got my tail sticking out the bottom of the head, which I will use to sew the head closed later. And I'm still going to keep my running stitch marker just for a couple more rows, just till I get to the actual granny square portion of the body. First though, I need to get back up to 12 stitches. So I'm going to increase again. I know we just decreased, but now I'm going to increase again from 6 back up to 12. So I'm working an increase in every single one of these 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay, so now I've got 12 stitches, and now I'm going to actually join my round because I want to have a nice smooth finish here. So that's the head and the first round of the body. I'm fairly comfortable with that. I could rip my my marker out now and it would be fine. I'm going to do one more round just to be absolutely sure, and then I'll take my marker out. So now we start the granny square portion. And to get that set up, we're going to do a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And in this first stitch, we're going to do 2 more double crochet. So that's our first group of 3 double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1 and go on to work a corner. So the corner is going to be, well, first I'm chaining 1 and I'm skipping 1, okay? And then I work a corner by going into the next one and doing a group of 3 double crochet. And then chain 2, and in the next stitch, not the same stitch because we have 12 stitches to work with, so I got to divide them up. In the next stitch we're doing 3 double crochet. So that makes 1 corner. Now I'm going to chain 1 and skip a stitch to get to the next corner. So that's the side basically, and now here's the next corner. So we do our 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then in the next stitch 3 double crochet. Okay, chain 1, skip a stitch, 3 double crochet in the next stitch, chain 2, do not skip a stitch, 3 double crochet in the next stitch. All right, now we're down nearing the end here, so we chain 1 and we skip a stitch, and now we're back to, I mean, we've only got 2 stitches left, right? We're back to our first corner, which we only worked half of. So we chain 1 and skip a stitch, and then we work 3 double crochet into this stitch, and that's all the stitches we had. And now we do our chain 2 for the corner and slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 that we started with, that first double crochet. Now you should have something that looks somewhat like a granny square. If you ignore the head sticking out of it, you should have 4 corners with the chain 2s in each of the 4 corners. And if you've got that and you're really confident with it, you can get rid of this just by pulling it out. And there goes our marker, and now we're ready to finish the body here. So to do the rest of the body, it's your typical granny square for most of it. We're going to chain 3, And then we're going into this space right here. I know that we've slip stitched just past the space, but it's okay. We're close enough. So we're going to go into this space here and do 2 more double crochets. So you'll see that chain 3 gets a little twisted, but it's not bad. It's not really noticeable. So there's our 3 double crochets into that chain space. That's half of this corner, but we always want to start in the middle of the corner. So now chain 1, and then on the side here we're going to put a 3 double crochet group. And then chain 1, and that will take us to the next corner. And in the corners we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2 for the corner, and then 3 double crochet again. Okay, then we're going to chain 1, and on the side again another 3 double crochet group, and we're just going to continue this way around. On the side we're going to do 3 double crochet groups like that, and on the corners we're going to do these with the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and in between we have a chain 1. Notice that we're only working into spaces. I'm completely ignoring all of the stitches for the granny square portion of this pattern. So let's continue all the way around, and then I'll come back to you when I get back to the beginning to show you how that worked. I'm back to the beginning. I've done my corner grouping of 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in each corner, and I've done just 3 double crochet on each side, and they're separated by chain 1s. So now I'm here, I've done chain 1, 3 double crochet for this side, chain 1, and I'm back to my starting corner. I've already worked half of the corner, so I just need to work 3 double crochet, chain 2 for the corner space, and then connect them in the top of that chain 3. And there we have the second round of our granny square. And you can see it's actually just a granny square with a head sticking out of it. So now I'm going to go on to the next round, and all the rounds are going to be pretty much the same after this until we get to the edging round. So all of the rounds are going to start with a chain 3, and then you work 2 more double crochet into the first corner, so I've got 3 double crochet in that first corner because the chain 3 counts as 1. Okay, chain 1, and then for each of these chain 1 spaces across the side we're going to do a 3 double crochet, and then a chain 1. Okay, and that gets us, do that again here for this space, 3 double crochet, whoops, let's try that again, 3 double crochet, and a chain 1. Okay, and that gets us to the corner again. In all of the corners we're going to work 3 double crochet, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 double crochet. So that brings me back to the side, and now I'll do a chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1 for across the side, and in the corner we'll do the same grouping of the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And we keep going around like that until we have, on our last round, we should have 4 groups on the side, so not counting the corners. Okay, so here we have just 1 group on the side, right? And in this round that we're doing here we have 2 groups because we've got the corners and then we have 2 groups in between them. On our last round we should have the corners and then 4 groups in between them. So when I get there and I get to the end of that round, I will come back and show you what it looks like. I'm nearly done with my last round, so I'm just going to finish that off here with 3 double crochet in the same space that I started in, and then chain 2, no really, chain 2, and slip stitch into that first stitch, which is that chain 3. So now I've got on each side of my granny square, I have the corner groups here, and then I have 4 of the 3 double crochet groups. If I count all the way to the corner, I have 6 3 double crochet groups across each side of my piece. And that is the last round before the edging. So now let's do the edging. And for the edging, I'm doing a series of shells with some picots in the corners. So to start with, I'm going to chain up with the 3 double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more double crochet in this corner, just like we were starting the other rounds. But here's where it gets different. I'm going to work into the stitches now for the edging. I'm going to skip the first stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into the second stitch. So right in the center of that 3 double crochet group, I'm slip stitching. That brings my double crochets down to this level, so they curve and give me a nice fan or shell shape rather than just being double crochets. So now, without chaining at all, I'm going to put 5 double crochets into this chain 1 space here. And it may ruffle a little bit, and that's okay. It gives us a nice little ruffly edge to our ghost. It doesn't have to be flat. So 5 double crochets in there, and then skip this stitch and slip stitch into the second stitch. Whoops. And you can see now that we've taken these double crochets and made a fan out of them, where they start down here, go up and around, and then come back down to this level again. And we're going to go ahead and do that in each of these chain 1 spaces across this row. So 5 double crochet, and then slip stitch. Okay, and then we just keep going till we hit the chain 2 space. Okay, that was my last chain 1 space. Now I'm at my chain 2 space in the corner. So in the corner, I'm going to do a fan with a picot in it. So I'm going to do, basically I'm going to do 7 double crochets, but in the center I'm going to do a picot. So we're going to start with 4 double crochets. That's 2, 3, 4. And now in this 4th center double crochet, I'm going to make a picot, which is chain 3, and then slip stitch into that same stitch. And you can do it in these loops, or you can do it through the actual stitch, however you like it. For this particular one, I'm liking the way it looks when I go just into that stitch like I normally would and slip stitch. Okay, then I do 3 more double crochets. So there is my fan with a picot in the corner. And if you don't like the picots, you can leave them off. It's just a little decorative thing for the corners. And then I'm going to do my slip stitch into this second stitch again and continue across this edge. Again, doing 5 double crochet into each of the chain 1 spaces all the way across, with a slip stitch in between into the center of these 3 double crochet groups. And when I get to the corner, I will again do this shell with the picot. And that goes all the way around, and then when we get back to the beginning corner, we'll finish off that shell that we started. I made it back around to my starting corner. I've got fans in all of my spaces, and I'm ready to finish off this fan that we started. So if you remember, we did 3 double crochet. It was the chain 3 and then the 2 double crochets. So we now need to do the other 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we do our picot. 2, 3, and slip stitch into the top of that stitch, and then we can join to the top of our chain 3. And that is the end. We can fasten that off. And we have our ghost. Now we need to stuff it. So let's get some stuffing. Take a good handful of stuffing and break off some pieces, and let's stuff the center. Now when we do this, every time you stuff some stuffing in, pull on this tail, because we want the tail to kind of come out in the middle here somewhere. So don't get the tail too stuffed up in there. And I like to make sure that the stuffing goes all the way around the tail. The other thing you can do is leave the tail out at the top and then sew it down in through the stuffing if you like. But this way worked out easier for me. Any way that you want that gets the head stuffed and then gets the tail out the middle, that's totally fine. So here my head is stuffed. I think I'm happy with that stuffing. And my tail is out the middle and my loop is up at the top. So I am all good to go. And now we need to secure the head. So I'm going to grab a needle and go ahead and thread the needle with the tail. And this is strictly just to keep the stuffing in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a spot here and I'm going to start going in and out of these stitches all the way around. Just in and out of every stitch, just to get around it. And it doesn't matter if you get it exact, you just want to be in that row where we only had 6 stitches, where it's the tightest around here. And then a little bit more, and that should get me all the way around. Okay, and now I can just pull on this and it'll close that hole up. If I want to be really sure, I can put an extra stitch in here, just to kind of close the gap. And then I'm going to go ahead and weave in this end into the nearby stitches. And when I'm doing amigurumi, I like to bury my ends back into the work. So I'm sticking it back up through there. And give it a little tug to kind of cinch everything up and snip it off. And when I tug it and then I snip it, it should sink right back into the stuffing. There we go, and now we have our amigurumi ghost with the little loop to hang it from. So that's how you make the amigurumi ghost, and now let's look at how to make this into a garland. I have 3 ghosts here ready to go, and I'm going to join them with a simple chain. First though, I want to make a little loop, just like the loop on the top of the ghosts, because I like to have a little loop to hang my garland up with. But I'm going to make it smaller than these loops. I'm going to just do a chain 4 instead of a chain 6. So here is a chain 4 and then slip stitch into that first chain, and that gives me just something to attach to a hook, so I can hang up the garland a little more easily. There's my little loop. Now I'm going to chain 20. And you can change this amount, 18, 19, 20. You can change this amount to get any length you want. If you want more string between your loop and your first ghost, go for it. I'm just going with 20 because that works for me. So pick up a ghost, stick your hook through the loop on the ghost, and do a slip stitch. There we go. Now the ghost is joined to my chain. Now I chain another 20. And again, you're welcome to separate your ghosts out more than this if you want to, but this amount worked for me for the look I was going for. So I grab another ghost, I insert my hook into the loop, and I slip stitch. So I just bring that yarn through, and that's just locking that in place. I'm just slip stitching through the loop. And then I chain another 20. Okay, let's move these out of the way. Grab the next one, and one more time slip stitch through here. And you can keep doing this for as many ghosts as you want. If you want a really long garland, do 100 ghosts. That'll be cool. As many as you want, as few as you want. You can even just hang up one ghost all by himself. Okay, and another 20 to get to the end. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's the end, but now I want to loop on this end too. And I did 4 chains in my loop, so I'm going to do another 3, 4 chains here, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the 4th chain from my hook, and that gives me my little loop at this end as well. And then I just fasten off and weave in my ends, and I have a garland of ghosts. And that is how you make a garland of ghosts. Thanks for watching.